Good morning, student. Can you all hear me? Hi, everyone. Can you hear me and can you see my screen or not? Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? All right. Okay, that's good. Okay, so today we are going to last chapter of this course, which is the sustainability and property development. So this would be the last chapter for the whole course. Okay. Okay, so for this topic, basically, I would say quite easy to follow because I think if you learn CCI before or if you learn SCT before, you should be have a basic understand of sustainability. So for this chapter, basically, we want to relate more, explain more how sustainability and sustainable development, that is will be the definition. What does it mean by sustainability? How it different from green? How it different from green development? And basically for this chapter, you should know how to relate sustainability to develop property development. That will be the differences as compared to previous what you have learned about sustainability. For this chapter, basically we want to join or connect these two together. Okay. So first of all, we are going to talk about a little bit of the introduction first. So, the threat posed by climate change has become very apparent in extreme weather events, and this has raised the level of consciousness and concerns regarding mankind effect on the environment. So, the extreme weather, as you can see, some of the country they are facing some of the natural disaster such as earthquake, tsunami, flash flooding, haze. And in Malaysia, you can notice that sometimes you feel very, very hot. But sometimes, like let's say now, these few weeks, you feel like quite cold. The weather actually not so consistent. Sometimes you feel very hot, sometimes you feel very cold. So that is the what you can see. That is what we say climate change. As you can see, the extreme weather. So because of that, it actually raised the alarm to the human to think about why there is a climate change, why the weather actually change so frequently and bring us not so comfortable on it. So that is what we meant by start to raise the consciousness and concern. What have we done to the environment? Okay, so this news, as you can see, blue sky, less waste, the COVID-19 and the MCO effect on the environment. So if you recall, last year, March, we experienced, I think, about 1 month stay at home. Okay, the MCO, the first MCO basically is nobody can go out and no business can open. So it's actually more stringent. So during the time when everybody stay at home, you can notice that less car available or less car at the outside and the whole country become very quiet. Surprisingly, that is the effect of the MCO and also the COVID-19. We managed to see blue sky, clearer sky, and the air become better, less pollution. So you can see the effect when how serious we actually do did to the environment. Okay, so that is the effect you can see after the COVID-19 and also the MCO implementation. So now zoom into the sustainability. So the prominent definition of sustainable development, which means that a development which meet the need of the present without compromising the ability of future generation to meet their own need. So for every kind of the development in a country, it require resources. natural resources. But in the macroeconomy, we already learned that all these resources are very, very limited, are very, very finite. One day it will gone. So if we today continue to overconsume, or we say unsustainable consumption, which means that you just take whatever you want, over consume it, it will actually degrade, diminishing all the natural resources, whereby all these regional resources actually available for the tomorrow society, or we say for the tomorrow generation. So if we continue to consume like this, one day our future generation will not be able to enjoy it. So sustainability or sustainable development is to prevent overconsumption in order to ensure that our future generation has the ability, has the equal chance to enjoy all these natural resources, to achieve a good quality of life, either equal to what we have today or better than today. So that is the sustainable development, that we today consume whatever we need without, without compromising. We need to say that take away their ability to enjoy in the future. Okay, so when we talk about sustainability, remember these three pillars: the economic prosperity, environmental good quality, and social equity. So how sustainability different with green? When we talk about green building, when we talk about sustainable building, they are different. Green building, they are only focused on the green area, the environmental aspect, with and the economy and social actually quite less. But sustainability, meaning to say that they will actually integrate these three important pillars in terms of economic prosperity, environmental quality, and also social equity. I talk about environmental first. So environmental sustainability, which means that we need to protect, we need to reserve the limited natural resources. We need to protect the ecosystem. We cannot always extract those limited natural or virgin resources. And we have to minimize the bad impact to the environment. So sustainability in terms of the environmental aspect is actually to protect the ecosystem. And in terms of the economic prosperity, so the aim is to tackle poverty and unemployment, which means that for a country, it should be able to generate a constant or improve economic growth to secure income, to ensure employment in order to sustain the whole population, which means that all people should have a stable job, all people should have a sufficient income to sustain themselves in order to remove or reduce the poverty and unemployment rate. Because when there is a poverty, when you don't have job, it start to have social problem, it start to have environmental problem. So that's why sustainability, we should not just focus on the green side. The economic side also very important for a country. And last but not least, in terms of the social, is to combat inequality, which means that a country should be able to guarantee the welfare. When we talk about welfare, it's actually in the terms of healthcare, education, security. Okay, health, care, education, and security, which means that a country should be able to guarantee all this welfare, no matter you are Chinese, Indian, or Malay, no matter you are male or female, no matter today you are poor or rich fellow. So it's actually ensure equality among all the social classes all the gender in order to improve the quality of life and also the social living. So the social part is very, very important also. All right. So as a conclusion, the sustainability should actually integrate all these three together. Then only we classify them as a sustainable development. Okay. But today we actually found out that infrastructure here, can you see here, is what we say catalyst, or we say enable, or we say a force that can actually help to achieve the can help to achieve the sustainability in economy, social, and environmental aspect, which means that infrastructure can accelerate the sustainable development. So when we talk about infrastructure, you can think about highway lah, road, okay, public transport like mega infrastructure. Don't forget also telecommunication, water supply, energy supply, electricity supply. They are also classified under infrastructure improvement. So I give you one example. Talk about ECRL in Malaysia. So ECRL, East Coast Rail Link, is actually a railway in order to connect the KL to the East Coast. So the East Coast here referring to Terengganu, okay, Pahang, and also Kelantan. So why we need to build ECRL? The first benefit is to improve the, okay, to improve the connectivity. Previously, if you want to travel to Terengganu lah, Pahang, I think the farthest is the Kelantan. It's very, very far in I think in my life, I only travel once by bus. I think it took me 15 hours from KL to Kelantan. So that is the tedious way. But when we have the ECRL, when we have this kind of infrastructure, it actually improves the connectivity between the community and also the state. If you want to travel from KL to Kelantan or all this area, it actually shorten the traveling distance. Correct or not? So actually, it actually linked to the connectivity and also convenient. Previously, you need to take 15 hours bus, but now maybe 3 to 4 hours by high-speed rail, the train, then you can reach the area faster. So actually, it connect between the West Coast and also the East Coast. It close the gap. Previously, when we want to go, all this area is very tedious lah. Nobody want to go. So, but when we have all this infrastructure, basically it improve the connectivity and shorten the traveling distance. Just now I mentioned I take 15 hours the bus. 15 hours, or when we say that too long hour in the route, it will actually pollute the environment. So if we can all people take the ECRL, it reduces the car usage on the road. So in the sense that it protects the environmental aspect. It shortens the traveling time. It reduces the car usage on the road. So that is another benefit. And then the third benefit, it will be to boost up the tourism or local industry. So we all know that Terengganu actually quite famous about the pulau-pulau, Pulau Redang lah, Pulau Kapas lah, Pulau Perhentian. And we talk about Pahang is actually quite famous about Kuantan, Cameron Highland, Cherating Beach, and Kelantan should be famous about the Kota Baru and their local handcraft and also traditional food. So if we can travel easily from KL to all this area, actually it helps to boost up the tourism sector in this area. Because now very convenient, you can take the train rather than take the flight, rather than take the car. So when we have additional option, more people can actually travel to all these three states. So in the sense that it improves the business opportunity, the movement of the people and the good become much easier. So the fourth benefit is to improve trading and also business opportunity. Okay, so when we improve the trading, when we improve the business opportunity and also the tourism, because when you go travel, you will start to spend at this area. When you start to spend, the local people that got what? Income. That is the economic part and also the social part. As I mentioned just now, if everybody no job, sooner or later start to have social problem. So that's why economy sustainability is very important, that to ensure people has a stable job and a secure income so that they are able to feed themselves, they are able to enjoy the healthcare and also the go to the school. So that is the benefit of in terms of improve the trading and also the business opportunity. And last but not least, investment opportunity. Okay, when all these areas start to become very popular, then the investor or the developer will start to aim to actually build more property in this area. As I mentioned just now, tourism. So maybe they will build more service apartment, hotel in all these areas because of the abundant opportunity. So hence, as a conclusion, the infrastructure improvement can actually accelerate the achievement of sustainability in terms of economy, social, and environmental. Okay? All right. On the other hand, building impact on the environment is actually very significant. We all know that building is what? Durable. Durable in the sense that it lasts longer. It will continue stay there. Even though maybe I die already, the building still there. So long life, even longer life than me. So the impact is very huge to the environment if the building is not healthy. So as you can see that when we construct the building, when we operate the building actually consume a lot of energy. And they also responsible to the waste. They generate a lot of the waste. End up, if we didn't manage it properly, it will go to the landfill. And when we build the building, it also need to have what? Consume the timber. Okay? Consume the fresh water also. And at the same time, they also consume the virgin material. So that is an impact when we construct a building, when we operate the building throughout its whole life cycle. If the building is not healthy, then the impact to the environment is even bigger due to the fact that building is a durable feature. Okay, so as a result, because of the impact, a sustainable property industry is a need in order to balance the environmental, social, economic issue to ensure a viable, valuable industry for future generation. Why we need to build our building green and sustainable is when we build our building green and sustainable, we can use the resources. As I mentioned, resources is very limited. So we need to use it more efficiently and at the same time create a healthy building. Why we need to create a healthy building? Because 90% of the time the humans spend indoor rather than outdoor. If the building is not healthy, what do you think? How it affect the people if you spend most of your time indoor? Okay, and that will improve the human occupant health and well-being. So that's why how we can integrate sustainability into property development is in terms of environmental, we can use the resources more efficiently. We need to reduce our extractions on these natural resources. In terms of the social is we need to improve the human health and well-being As I mentioned, because we spend time indoor more than the outdoor. And the economic part is we can save the cost of a building. Basically, I think it's manage a building because building lasts very longer. The management, the operation of the building is actually cost more than the building construction. Later, I will tell you, I later come to the slide, I will explain further lah. But generally, the cost to manage, to operate the building is more than the construction cost of a building. Okay? And just to have a general knowledge for you all, so we have all these called 17 Sustainable Development Goal, or we in a short form we call SDG. So this 17 goal is set by the United Nations in order to transform our growth from this one actually implement in 2015, and they have a long-term goal. Hopefully we can achieve all these 17 goals in 2030. So this 17 goal actually is a blueprint, is a guideline, okay, to achieve the peace, prosperity among the people, the country, and the planet. So all the country, no matter you are poor country, rich country, they had to cooperate together to form a global partnership in order to achieve these 17 goals by 2030. When you look at these 17 goals, you will notice that the 17 goal actually comprises of environmental, social, and at the same time economic. And when I read through all these 17 goals, I realized that actually the social part form largest portion. You see, the first one already told you, no poverty, zero hunger, quality education, gender equality. So you can see that when we talk about sustainability, it's not only thing about green environmental. The only thing worry about people is about the social part. So if you check, if you actually follow the news, you can see the Afghanistan, the country, is actually quite heartbreaking lah, because you can see the human and the woman and the kids, they actually don't have the right and they don't have the basic security in the country. So that's why you can see that although now is 2021, but then the mentality lah, the basic necessity lah, or basic human need, the basic human need like food, the basic security, water, healthcare. A very poor country like Afghanistan, they cannot even have it. So that's why this 17 goal is actually is very important, so that in the future by 2030 we are managed to achieve it. Okay, so for more information, please click this link to read more about all these 17 goals. Okay, so now come to the important part is how we can link the sustainability with property development. So basically, for this course, we divided into 5 important stages. The first one is site, means how we can link the land with sustainability. Second one is funding, finance, how we can link the funding with sustainability. Next, planning stage, design and construction stage, and last one is during reporting stage, is what we call CSR. Okay, so we talk about the first one first, development site and sustainability. There is a popular saying goes, the tree are the lung of our planet. Why we say they are the lung of this planet? Because the tree, they will extract the CO2 from the atmosphere. Meaning to say that they will use the CO2, store it to build their branches and trunk, and they will release the O2 in the process. So now maybe I test your understanding. Can any one of you tell me what is this process? They take CO2 and release the O2. What is this process? Anyone know or not? See, you got forget the signs or not? What is this process? Very good, Charles. Photosynthesis law. So, and it's very funny is human is metabolic. Human need O2, release the CO2, isn't it? So that's why when we say about the tree, they actually extract the CO2, they take the CO2 and they release the O2 to the environment. Okay, so that is what we say they are the lung of our planet because they take most of the CO2 which human does not want it. On the other hand, forests are very important. We consider forests as an important asset in fight against the climate change. As I said just now, when too much CO2 available in the atmosphere, the air quality become very, very poor. If we keep on cutting too many trees, then there are many CO2 circulated in the air, which will make the air become very poor. So that is what we meant by they are very important to fight the climate change. And all the other side, human life, we also depends on forests. We also depends on green. Don't tell me none of you eat vegetable. You all eat vegetable, isn't it? Correct or not? So we all depends them for our livelihood. And then one thing to think about it is forest actually is a very important habitat. Of course, not habitat to you all lah. It's a habitat to who? Animal, insect, correct or not? So that's why that is their important thing. It's a better habitat for animal and also insect. Okay, but what happened is when we human want to kickstart a property development, we take away, we clear all the forests. Deforestation or reforestation. Of course, the first one, we kickstart a property development, we clear the forest, just like this picture, that is a form of deforestation. But think about it, when we clear away the forest, do we build back the same area of the forest back? If we clear away the important habitat to all these animal and insect just for our own house, do we actually build back the house for them? That is a question for you to think about it. The question is about deforestation or reforestation. Okay? So if you can see this figure, the green one is the forest expansion. The gray one is the deforestation. So meaning to say that we clear away the forest, but the green one is we build back the forest. So if you can see that from 1990 until today, the deforestation is actually more than the forest expansion. Okay, and the world already lost 178 million hectares of the forest since 1990, and that size of the forest is actually equivalent to the size of the Libya, a country. Okay, so when we clear away the forest, what will happen? Okay, so if you can see, as I mentioned just now, a standing forest or a young growing forest is actually very good because they absorb the CO2 for the process of photosynthesis. But what happens if we clear, if we degrade, if we deforest them? You can see that there are more and more CO2 released to the atmosphere, which will make the air quality become very, very bad, and eventually it will affect the human health. Okay, so forests emitted average 8.1 billion metric tons of the CO2 and absorbed 16 billion between 2001 and 2019. So in other words, forests actually act as a what? Carbon sink, meaning to say that because they absorb the CO2, they act as a function to absorb the carbon. Okay, so that is what we meant by carbon sink. They absorb the CO2, makes use of the CO2 for their photosynthesis. But what if cut away all the forests? More CO2 will be circulated in the air and the air quality become very, very bad. And what are the sustainability issues that affect land included? When we clear away all the forests, loss of habitat destruction, fragmentation, degradation. As I mentioned just now, we humans take away their habitat. Do we build back the habitat from them? So if we don't, end up they will lose their home, they will lose their habitat, and slowly all these species will become extinct because of the habitat destruction. Okay, and loss of biodiversity, which means that it will affect the food chain effect if one of the animal that become extinct. And last but not least is the contamination, either by natural causes or as a result of previous use. So if we continue to build more building, build more factory on that piece of land, we are actually contaminated the land. Okay. So as you can see, this new humanity have actually wiped out 60% of the animal population since 1970. So previously, if you see, oh, we got dinosaur. So, but then of course today, if you want to see the dinosaur, you can only go to the museum or you can look at the YouTube and also the internet. So think about it, your future generation, is it, let's say, next time when we say tiger, they have to rely on the YouTube, the books, or even the TV, then only they know, oh, that is a tiger, rather than they can see it in their real eye. So that is a thing for you to think about it. Okay. All right. So now, after I talk about the importance of the forest, what happened if the forest gone? So now, how we can integrate the land together with sustainability development. Of course, the first one is to promote the sustainable management of the forest, and halving the deforestation is a very important aspect in order to mitigate the impact of climate change. So which means that when we kickstart the building, try and take the mature tree rather than the immature tree. Okay, and urgent action must be taken to reduce the loss of the natural habitat and biodiversity, which are part of our common heritage. So that's why when we have a very rare species, a very rare plant or flora and fauna, think about it to protect them rather than destroy them, because we also don't want our future generation, they don't know what is tiger, they don't know what is lion. Okay. Okay, so in terms of the site selection, actually developer can make a choice before they kickstart a new development. They can make a choice, they can make a difference. Say for example, do not develop a building on a site that meet the following criteria. They should move away if the area is the forest reserve zone, or if the area is environmental protection zone that is specifically identified as a habitat for any species that found on endangered list. So these are the things developer can choose. When they kickstart a new development, why you want to choose to build near to the forest reserve area? Why you want to build near to the environmental protection zone? So that is a thing that we can avoid. Avoid building anything that near to all these sensitive areas. That is the first thing in terms of site selection. You can make the difference. Okay. And site location. In terms of the location, try to channel the development to area that existing infrastructure and locating near to public transport. I think all of you should be quite expert, right? What are the benefits if the development near to public transport? Today, I'm going to introduce you another development called TOD. I think next slide is yes, TOD. TOD means transit-oriented development, TOD. So the definition of TOD is a mixed development, typically located within 400-meter radius of a transit station or any public transport network. So meaning to say that it's a mixed development very nearby to public transport like MRT lah, LRT or etc. Within the 400-meter radius, then we classify that development as TOD, transit-oriented development. So look at here. TOD project along the 2 MRT line has actually gained attention from the property buyer, especially young buyer. Of course, why? You all should be very expert lah. Convenient, no? Because KL or city central has a problem of what? Traffic congestion. So if we can take public transport, it's actually very convenient. So convenient to get to the work from where they live, and also accessible amenity. So if you want to go to shopping mall, also very easy because some of the shopping mall, they are actually linked to the public transport. So that is the thing. And buyer and investor are attracted by convenience of public transport and the high capital growth recorded by TOD in Hong Kong and Singapore, while the developers are encouraged by the high interest in TOD, which means that investors they like to buy TOD project because of convenient connectivity. When they do investment, after some time when they sell, they enjoy more capital appreciation. You notice that in nearby the TOD area, the property actually built very high because of the higher plot ratio approved by the government. Okay, of course, higher plot ratio is a good thing for the developer. The higher the plot ratio, the higher or the more the unit the developer can build, and they can sell more and earn more. So that is a benefit if they practice TOD. Okay. And brownfield redevelopment, that is also one of the way. Brownfield meaning to say that we try to avoid greenfield. Greenfield means new, virgin, or undeveloped area, which means that previously no development before. Derek cannot hear me. How about others? Can you all hear me? So apparently is can hear right? Just now I saw Derek say can hear. Derek, double check your computer, okay? So if you cannot hear me, please let me know. Or else I suddenly talk, suddenly short. Okay? Okay, good. So where am I already? Okay. Greenfield is new, virgin, undeveloped area, which means the forest lah. So brownfield redevelopment, which means that the developer can choose a site that previously already developed. Say for example, former mining land, old factory site. But if we use this area, right, because the factory lah, the mining they got a lot of chemical. Because factory mining a lot of chemical, a lot of harmful substance, which actually makes the land not safe. So that's why the developer need to take appropriate step to do rectification to remedy the contamination land. So that is a pro and con lah. If we want to take the brownfield redevelopment, make sure we need to take the appropriate step to do some rectification first, to remove all the harmful substance first before we take the new development. Okay, so brownfield instead of greenfield. All right, so that's it for the site and the sustainability. Now, interesting how we can integrate funding and sustainability issue. So, bank, no matter lah, don't say bank lah, financial institution, bank, insurance company, they should practice eco-finance. Eco-finance, which means that the financial institution integrate sustainability into their policy, practice, product, and services, which means that when a developer want to apply funding, then the financial institution or the bank will check, hey, Mr. Developer, do you integrate any sustainability in the development? Do you practice any sustainability waste management into your development? They will check. Many bank and financial, they start to adopted this environmental related policy when seeking to lend fund, which means that they will check, do you practice any sustainability practice? For example, financier, they will exercise caution when faced with environmental sensitive transaction, which means that they also scared if your development is not sustainable, or if you are use that dangerous chemical lah, dangerous product lah, or illegal product in your development. Because if you use all these illegal product, illegal practice, then they are become the partner ma. So in the end, they will also suffer from all these bad image. So that's why they will check, they will conduct due diligence checking to ensure that you practice sustainability, your product, your building do not have all these dangerous chemical illegal product, to reduce the risk associated with their investment. So that is a definition of eco-finance. Okay, there are few initiatives under the eco-finance. The first one is provide green loan. There have been many attempts to enable the individual and organization to access the fund for environmental project. Green loan has been set up to fund the green scheme, which means that green loan, the loan only prioritize for the green project only, which means that the loan priority should be goes to the sustainable project. If the developer practice sustainable project, green building project, the chances they get the green loan is higher. So green loan only fund for green project. Okay, specifically designed to fund for the green project. Okay, so in Malaysia, they are this called Green Technology Financing Scheme. So under this scheme, they actually provide funding for the producer and also the user of green technology. So you can see that the purpose here to provide funding for those who produce a green product, for those who utilize a green product. Okay, so who will give the funding is, you can see here, participating PFI, participating financial institution is some of the bank, they will participate under the green technology financing scheme. Okay, and the interest rate should be depends on the bank lah. So for example, one of the bank participate in this green scheme is Maybank. So under the Maybank, they also participate this scheme called Scheme for Green Technology Project for producer and user. So you can see that this green loan only specifically for those who produce, for those who use the green technology. Okay, so here you can see the purpose. So meaning to say that how you want to encourage the developer to practice sustainability. Of course, the first one, in terms of the bank, they should provide this green loan to encourage them, to trigger them, to kickstart more sustainable project. Okay. Then another second thing is kasih, give incentive. Incentivize sustainable property development. Many schemes that incentives the sustainability within the property development to encourage a greater awareness and participation. So if you offer incentive, if you offer some rebate and discount in terms of tax exemption, that will be better because that actually will encourage them to participate more into the sustainable property development. So incentive is a second approach from the bank or from the financial institution or even from the government to offer all these benefits to the developer who practice sustainable development. So under the Malaysia, they have this initiative called tax incentive for green industry under the MIDA. So you can read here, the green technology incentive actually include some of it. To strengthen the development of green technology, the government will continue to provide incentive in the form of tax allowance. When you purchase the green technology asset, then you can actually apply for income tax exemption for the use of green technology services and system. So actually all these incentives will encourage the developer to participate more. Okay. So this is the green incentive in Malaysia. So under here there are a few categories such as asset, project, and services. So for property development, the second one will be more related lah. Applicable for company who that undertake qualifying green technology project for business or own consumption. So under this green investment tax allowance, so under this one, green investment tax allowance, so you can read who are eligible to apply and what are the form of incentive given to them if they kickstart the green building project. So that is a second initiative under the development funding together with the sustainability. And the third one is just now the two is incentive lah, green loan is to help. This one is the punishment, carbon taxation. Carbon tax can be introduced, but not in Malaysia yet, but it has been introduced in UK and Australia in order to reduce the carbon emission. They will set a baseline for a project. If you emit the carbon more than the threshold, more than the baseline, then you need to pay the carbon tax. That is also one form of the good way because who like to pay tax? So when you don't want to pay more tax, then you will start to what? Follow the rules, isn't it? Okay, but too bad, Malaysia not yet. But in 2018, actually the government got a person, got some party, they actually advised the government to consider to impose the carbon tax to drive the clean energy. So you can read here, the government should consider impose the carbon tax in the future in order to drive the energy and green technology. So if the tax is implemented, it should be less than 1%. Okay, and the amount of the tax is to be paid to the government, which depends on the project carbon emission, so that the small player, which means that the small project will not be affected. So this one, they suggested that the carbon tax should be applicable for big project. Okay, this will help to reduce the carbon footprint in the country. Okay, so that's why how they want to spend the tax. They say only should the tax be implemented, it should be subsidized green technology, especially in producing the clean energy. So this is also one form of the good way. They collect the carbon tax for those projects who exceed the limit. Then after that, they get the tax to subsidize the green technology. That is also one of the good way lah. But until now, the government not yet to introduce this tax lah. Okay. All right. So now let's break for a moment. Okay. Then later on we continue to talk about the planning and sustainability. Okay. Meanwhile, wait for a moment answer the quiz last quiz of the for this course. Last quiz answer this quiz. Okay, and we come back at 9:05. Okay, attendance not so good today. Okay, I know you all after Bali already want to skip my class Okay, you take the risk to skip my class then you know what happened in your final assessment Okay, so for those who didn't attend my class pass your message to your friend. Okay, don't skip my class or else you will die fast in your final assessment. Okay, so break for 10 minutes. I will see you all back at 9:05. Okay, welcome back. Okay, so let's continue. The next stage we are going to explain is about how we can inject, okay, sustainability in the planning stage. So for planning stage, typically we can focus in terms of transportation and accessibility, ecological and site issue, zoning and land use issue. These three are actually related or play an important role in the planning stages. Okay, talk about transportation first. Sustainability can be enhanced where the site has a good access to the public transport network. So which means, as I mentioned just now, why TOD is very popular is because of people, no matter you are the buyer, no matter you want to rent a house or no matter you are investor, actually TOD quite popular among of them because of the connectivity and also the accessibility. So the developer need to consider the emission associated with the transportation, which means that if a development here is here, let's say the piece of land is here, then the developer need to consider how fast, how far from this development to this major highway. Say for example, this is the major highway that connected to the city center. So the developer has to think about it. How fast, how far, what is the traveling time from the people who stay here to the nearest major highway. If the distance is very, very far, then it's actually not so good lor. Because if the traveling time increase, which means that we have to take a longer time to reach our destination, which means that we need to drive longer time, and then we need to stay on the road longer time. So actually it creates the pollution. So for Semenyih, if you are not familiar to Semenyih, actually Semenyih will boost up is because of the Eco Hill, okay, developed by SP Setia. So when they kickstart the Eco Hill, okay, some of the buyer they are interested to buy because of the landed, because of the concept is very, very attractive, because it's quite attractive in the Semenyih. But then problem, I think many buyer has a concern. They will ask, the area is actually quite isolated because the Setia Eco is actually very far from the major highway and very far away from the town, Semenyih town. So every buyer, when they go to the showroom, the first thing they will ask is about this thing. And then you know how the developer solve this problem? They purposely build a highway, build a road to link the Setia Eco Hill to the Silk Highway. So that is a thing the developer has to think about it. Because as I told you just now, we are very concerned on the transportation time and the traveling distance. That's why they think about it. They actually try to solve it by building the highway themselves in order to link the development to the major Silk Highway. So that thing solved the problem. And you can see that area actually quite very popular until the Eco World also start to build a house and other developer also start to kickstart to build many landed property at Semenyih. Okay, so that is the thing that we can consider sustainability when we have a good accessibility to the transportation network. Okay. And the purpose is, as I mentioned, we need to reduce the traveling time because nobody like to stuck in the traffic jam for a long time. The longer we stuck, the higher the pollution. And we should promote public transport system. So as I mentioned just now, TOD is one of the way to encourage people to give a choice to the people to take public transport. Personally, my house is actually just beside LRT. So sometimes I did take LRT to shopping mall lah, to some of the place. But of course now because of the COVID, I scared lah, so that's why I didn't take. But if everything is back to normal, actually to me I can share my experience is really really very convenient because I don't need to drive myself. I don't need to parking. Okay, you know lah, if you want to go to the shopping mall, especially Mid Valley, it's very 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 difficult to find parking after 12 o'clock. So that's why if I can take public transport, actually it solve all these problems. Actually, it's a good way lah. It give a choice to the property buyer and the owner to have a chance to take the public transport. Okay. Improve and promote walking, cycling, and public transport, and change a habit which will reduce the amount of car use. So if the property near to public transport, like person like me, I also very lazy lah sometimes lah, but then it actually changed my habit. I would think that not bad. Well, I can take public transport to Mid Valley. I can even take public transport to 1U. Okay, that is the thing that it changed people habit. When you give a choice to them, they will think about it, they will actually take it. Okay, but problem is, especially in terms of walking and cycling, I think in Malaysia is not so popular lah, because we don't have a dedicated walkway. We don't have a dedicated cycling pathway for the pedestrians from the cyclists. That is a problem in Malaysia. So that's why developers should actually make the straight bus stop safer, including lower traffic speed and better security, which means that for a walkway, they maybe can provide railing lah, cover walkway lah, CCTV lah, because generally I think quite dangerous that if you walk alone, especially at night. But then if the developer can take the initiative, okay, to build a proper walkway to link the property development to the nearest public transport, that could make a difference. Okay. And other thing can be think about it is to manage the freight transport by moving to rail, canal, or river, which will in turn reduce reliance on heavy truck traffic, which means that very commonly when we want to when we want to travel or when we want to transport our material, the first thing is on the road by lorry lah, by van lah, and this and that. So it actually increase the car usage on the road. So alternatively, we can think about, can we use railway? Can we use canal or river? That is a thing can be considered. Okay, the next one is reduce fossil fuel dependence and shift to alternative, cleaner, renewable energy for transport. If you notice, for new shopping mall, okay, I'm talking about new shopping mall, you will see the parking near to the lift lobby, they will reserve for hybrid or electric car. Okay, apart from reserve for OKU, you will notice that the priority car park near to the lift lobby, they will give to hybrid car, electric car. That is also one of the initiative, okay, to encourage people, okay, to don't buy conventional car, to buy more hybrid car or electric car, because this car generally they consume less fuel and emit less CO2. So that is a thing the developer can make the difference. They can actually provide more car park priority in the shopping mall or even in the office. Okay, that is a thing can be considered. Limit the amount of parking provision. This one can be think about it also, but I think it's quite difficult lah. Okay, but in most of the development, you can see that commonly the minimum is 2 car park. But then you can very extreme. Sometimes you can see they provide 3 car park, 4 car park. So that is not good law, because if you provide 4 car park, alternatively you are actually encouraging people to buy more car, to drive more car. So maybe for the next generation, right, or in the future, developers should think about it. Maybe just provide 1 car park is sufficient already. Less car park better. Then they can build more unit. That is a thing can be considered in the future to integrate the sustainability, to reduce the car usage. This can be done if the property near to public transport. Okay, but if very far from public transport, you still limit the car parking, then that will be quite difficult. It will affect the property sales. Okay, and provision of cycling facility and changing room for the cyclists or motorcyclists also can. Okay, rather than drive car, maybe we can consider to cycle or take motor. That is also one of the way. But if the people they're cycling or they take motorcycle to work, then they need a proper space. They need a proper area to shower, to change their clothes. Because sometimes raining okay, or sometimes because very hot, they will sweat. So they need a proper changing room in the shopping mall or maybe in the office area to actually change or shower themselves. That is a thing the developer also can be done during the planning stage. And don't forget, as I mentioned just now, social part is very important. We should also consider the need of the people with disability, such as they cannot see very well or they cannot hear very well. So say, for example, I think you will see this one quite often in the shopping mall or in the office. The tactile paving is a very small block act as an indicator for those people who cannot see very well. So that is the first thing. The developer should actually design the tactile paving very well to guide the people who cannot see to have a safe journey of walking. Okay. And of course, provide sufficient wheelchair ramp and also lift. Not to say less staircase, but some of the place they should actually provide ramp or sufficient lift to assist the people who are disabled so that they can access to the area more safely. Okay. And as I mentioned just now, in Malaysia, we have a problem. We don't have a proper cyclist pathway. Even motorcyclists also don't have a proper way. Malaysia road, everybody come together. You share the road with lorry, you share the road with bus taxi pedestrian. Sometimes pedestrian also you share the road with them. That is a problem. We don't have a proper walkway for a pedestrian, sometimes for the cyclist. That's why when we ask people to cycle, it's very dangerous because we don't have a proper walkway. And some more, if we want to encourage people to walk, to cycle, in Malaysia, the weather, very, very hot. Problem, we don't have a proper cover walkway, don't have a comfortable cycling pathway for the people to cycle, for the people to walk. So that's why what developer can do is they should think about whether can provide proper walkway, cover walkway, at least safe from raining or hot sunburn. Okay. And in Malaysia also got one problem is if you notice our walkway for pedestrian is very, very small only. I think like this only. Maybe can only fit 2 person. The 2 person cannot too fat. If too fat, maybe only can fit 1 person, the proper walkway. So that's why this sort of thing the developer also need to consider also. If you want to encourage people to walk from the development to the public transport, then the proper walkway should be given to them. Okay, that is a thing. And apart from near to public transport, proximity to local amenity, such as restaurant, school, bank, park, also is very good because sometimes if you want to buy one ketchup, do you think you want to drive purposely to shopping mall just to buy one ketchup only or just to buy one sauce? Of course, no, isn't it? So if the proposed development near to all these local amenity, that would be a plus point. Okay. And moving forward to ecological and site issue, which means that when the developer kickstart a new project, if they find out ecological feature appear as it on a development site, then they have to think about it. Whether to protect, whether to destroy the feature. Say, for example, if they found out a very rare bird habitat or very rare species, the flora and fauna, then the developer had to think about it. Should they protect? Should they destroy the feature? But of course, protection should be the main objective. Okay? Enhanced ecological value are clearly welcomed by planning authority. Do you still recall what I say? The first thing when they kickstart a new property development, they need to apply planning application from the local authority. If the ecological value appear on that piece of land, if you destroy it, then sorry to say that your planning approval should be failed lah. Because if you enhance or protect it, the chances you get the approval should be higher. Okay, the developer must consider at an early stage to avoid negative attention from the environmental group or unwanted media coverage. You do one good thing, people might remember one day. If you did one bad thing, sorry, I rephrase again. You do hundreds thing, good thing, people will remember one day. You just did one bad thing, people will remember forever. So that's why developer have to consider and have to be careful if they choose to destroy the very rare species, then they will actually get some negative comment from the public, which will affect their property sales or development. Okay? And regarding the zoning and land use issue, at the very beginning, developers should identify the prevailing trend in the location or region in which they operate. That is the thing they have to do during the planning stage. They should actually consult the local authority, the latest land use zoning issue. So issue regarding the site or land use should be considered early and investigate first before purchase the site. So this one we discussed before. Sometimes when you want to do investigation to that piece of land, when you want to conduct due diligence, it takes time. So you should do all these things before you purchase the land. Once you purchase already, then only you found out something is not right. You cannot U-turn already. So this part should conduct study clearly, carefully before during the planning stage. Okay. This is due to the building standard, planning and regulatory framework are constantly changing. These standards can apply in Malaysia. Our prime minister lah, our minister lah, our law lah change very frequently, constantly changing. So when there is a change of the new government, they will change the regulation, they will change the law. So developer, before they kickstart a project, before they purchase the land during the planning stage, all these things they need to identify clearly. Developer has less control. They cannot control, they cannot have any decision making on this part. They have to follow the local authority plan. So consultation with the local authority plan will identify an authority intention with respect to zoning and land use issue in addition to the local authority sustainability agenda. So due to the fact that constantly changing, so to avoid double job, the developer should actually find out first with the latest, newest local authority plan before they kickstart the project. Okay? So moving forward to the design and construction, during this part, a lot of sustainability development, sustainability element can be injected during the design stage, during the construction stage. So I will talk about each one one by one. So the first one, we talk about energy and carbon first. So for energy and carbon, most of the building, they are not energy efficient. Especially we are talking about existing building. Okay, most of the existing building, most of the old building, they are not energy efficient either during the building, during the construction, or during the operation in use. CO2 emission come from construction or using the building. As I mentioned just now, building is durable. During the construction stage, during the operation and maintenance stage, the building will consume a lot of energy, will release a lot of CO2. As a result, improving energy efficiency for a building is very important in order to reduce this emission due to the fact that building lasts very long time. We need to make the building healthy first. Okay? So what can be done? Of course, there are many ways lah. Okay? For example, first one, provide more insulation or more efficient glazing to the building fabric. So when we provide thicker insulation or double glazing, it actually can prevent too much heat absorbed inside the building. So when the insulation is good, when the glazing is good, you won't feel hot even though you are inside the building. If you won't feel hot, you won't on the aircon, isn't it? So that's why insulation is very important to make the building occupant feel comfortable even though inside the building, even though during the hot day. That is the first thing. During the design stage, the designer, the architect can think about it. The second way is adopt passive design to reduce the level of energy consumed. So passive design, this thing also can be done during the design stage. Passive design, which means that we can allow more natural sunlight, more ventilation to maintain a very comfortable indoor environment. So when we feel comfortable, we will minimize the energy use. Because if you allow more natural sunlight, you don't need to on the artificial light. If you feel comfortable, you won't feel hot or won't feel cold, then you won't on aircon. You don't even need to on the fan. Okay, so that's why passive design is very important from the designer in order to reduce the energy consumption that come from artificial light and aircon. Okay, and the third, developer or the design team can incorporate, install energy efficient services or feature such as energy meter to monitor the energy consumption, and they can also install energy saving fitting. This is what we call motion sensor. It can be one of it, motion sensor, or we say detector. So the next slide, you can see this is what we call the motion sensor, motion detector that very commonly they install along the corridor or along the staircase. So this is the thing that when they detect got people, then only they light up automatically. When no people detected, then they will off it. So in that sense, it save more energy, okay? And of course, the next one is to consider renewable energy, such as solar panel, photovoltaic, solar thermal, or wind turbine, geothermal, or hydro generation. So these are the energy can be renewed, which reduce the consumption of fossil fuel because fossil fuel is not renewable. But problem is when we consider to use all these renewable energy, first thing is what? High capital cost, very high cost. But as I mentioned just now, during the funding, some government, they actually offer what? Incentive, tax exemption to encourage the usage, hence offset the initial installation cost. So that is the thing lor. If you want to consider to use the renewable energy, although it's very high cost, but some of the government actually gives the rebate. So subsequently, it reduce the cost. That is the thing. Initiative come from the government to encourage the developer to consider to use more green technology. Okay. What are the things can be done? For example, developer can use solar energy for water heater, or they can use solar energy for lamp posts. Okay, so that is the thing can be done also. And life cycle costing is also very, very important. What does it mean by life cycle costing is when we produce a design, when we consider a material, we should not just consider the upfront cost, which means initial cost. Don't only consider initial cost, but also the cost that will accrue throughout the life of the building, such as maintenance, repair, and replacement. Say, for example, when you purchase a car, of course, very commonly, the first thing people buy is they will think about the initial cost first. That is logic lah. When you purchase a car, the first thing you will ask, what is the cost, the capital cost of this car? Okay, but don't forget, you should also think about, consider also the fuel consumption, the maintenance and the services cost, the road tax, the insurance cost, and also replacement. And also, if your car broken already, you need to replace, you need to service or repair. So that's why don't only think about initial cost. Maybe the initial cost of this car is very cheap, but then the car consume a lot of fuel now, then the road tax very expensive, and the car always give you some problem. End up, even though you pay very cheap cost at the beginning, but later on you spend more money to repair, to maintain, to service your car. So life cycle cost is not only just think about initial cost, but also consider the service cost, operating, maintenance, and last but not least, we also need to think about the disposal cost. That is what we say life cycle cost. Okay? Very commonly for a project, okay, look at this. This is the iceberg theory. The iceberg theory actually proved that the total cost of a building is actually look like an iceberg. Look like an iceberg. The design cost only cost 2%. Construction cost only cost 34%. But the operation and the maintenance cost actually form larger portion, form higher fraction of the total cost, which is 64%. So normally what we see is we only see the surface. We only see the surface, the initial cost. We only say, hey, we want to cut down the construction cost. We want to cut down the design cost. So very commonly for a project, they only think about the surface. But based on the theory, we should also think about the hidden cost. The hidden, the underneath cost, the future maintenance cost actually form a larger portion of the cost as compared to the design and also the construction. So I give you one example. Say, for example, when we want to consider material selection for a project. Okay, so for a project, for a lighting, they can choose to install LED light. They can also choose to install fluorescent light. So compare in terms of these two, this will be cheaper. This will be expensive. If you just think about the initial cost, of course you will choose the cheap one, no, isn't it? Because your aim is to reduce the design and construction cost. Of course, then you choose a fluorescent light. But then problem is fluorescent light, they will break down, and they will actually spoil more often. And also when you install fluorescent light, you will feel very hot under the light, because here they emit a lot of the heat, which makes you not so comfortable. Then as a result, you need to on more fan, you need to on more aircon. So subsequently, it add up the cost lah. But on the other hand, LED cost, LED light, although costs are higher, but they last longer, and they also burn cooler. Okay, last longer, which means that in the future, you don't need to replace so frequent. Save the hassle, save the problem, save the material cost. Who like to replace the light so frequently, isn't it? So because of this LED light that lasts longer, then you don't need to replace so frequently. You save your job, you save the material cost. And on the other hand, because the LED light burn cooler, so you will feel more comfortable when you use LED light. When you feel comfortable, you don't need to on aircon. You don't need to on fan so big volume. And because the LED light burn cooler, it gives us a better eye comfort. As compared to fluorescent light, you can do an experiment. Under this light and under this light, you read a book, then you will feel the difference. So for LED light, it gives you a better eye comfort. Then that is a health and comfort, the social part. So that's why, remember, when we talk about life cycle costing, always remember the underneath of the cost, the operating and maintenance cost is always cost larger than the surface cost. Okay? That's why well thought out design which incur relatively little ongoing maintenance costs are to be encouraged. As I say, who likes to do maintenance, replacement, repair so frequently? If you repair so frequently, if you replace so frequently, the cost add up together could be more than the initial cost. Sustainable development might have lower operating costs and reduce maintenance costs, although higher capital costs are needed. So this is the thing that I give the example of LED light and fluorescent light. Although LED light costs higher, but it gives you lower maintenance and operating costs. Similarly, just now we mentioned that solar energy is very, very expensive. You can see that the economic return for the photovoltaic system is actually ascertained by determining the cost over its lifetime, which means that the cost is very expensive at the beginning, but it lasts longer. It's similar concept to the LED and the fluorescent light. Okay, so very important to conduct the life cycle analysis to assess the environmental and resources impact. When you choose a product, when you choose a material, you should think about the life cycle costing. This allowed the developer and the project team to consider a different range, a different option and alternative before they decide which material to use, because each material will bring you different life cycle costing. Okay. And moving forward is about the waste management. We all know that for a project, definitely will produce a lot of waste. Developer need to pay to dispose the waste, and the disposal costs are increasing. As a result, minimizing waste makes financial sense. That's why waste management is very important to cut down the disposal costs. Concern should be given to the volume going to landfill. Landfill which means that your waste, no matter you generated at your own home, no matter generated at construction site, if they cannot recycle, if you didn't recycle, or if they cannot recycle, end up is sent to landfill. Landfill is not good. Maybe landfill is not an issue in Malaysia. Because Malaysia got a lot of land ma, no problem lah. We just open new land just to dump the rubbish lah. But it is an issue if in Singapore and Hong Kong, whereby their land is very, very limited. In Malaysia, won't be any problem because we got many land. That's why it's not a problem. But for Singapore, for Hong Kong, whereby their land is limited and their population and density also very high. Landfill is a major problem to all these countries. That's why landfill is not good, because when we continue send the waste to landfill, we are actually open up a lot of land just to store all these waste, correct or not? So that's why landfill is not a good way. Okay, something for you to think about it. Okay, KL residents generate 3,500 tons of the rubbish per day. The rubbish per day can actually fill up the Petronas Twin Tower in 40 days. And it also takes 1 month to fill up the TRX to 2 meters. 1 month only, 2 meters. And KL residents illegally dump 23,000 tons of the rubbish in the past 5 years. Then the Alam Fora, they need to collect 130 tons of the fat oil grease from the KL drain per day. What I want you to focus is this one. Eventually, it costs 325 million a year just to collect, just to dispose the waste. That's why if we don't have proper waste management, if we don't practice recycle, reuse, end up you spend more money just to collect, just to dispose of waste. So that is the consequences. So a proper waste management can help to design out the waste, minimize the waste creation, ensure the waste is dealt with appropriately. So that's why for a project, they need to plan, okay, to have some internal storage and also to provide external collection to collect the waste. Okay. So these are some of the proper waste management. You can see that some of the timber, if they cannot be reused already, we can actually do proper waste management to reuse or to recycle. Okay, why we need to think about reuse and recycle? See this picture. How long does it take for a trash to decompose? So you can see that the plastic bag will take 10 to 20 years. Okay, of course, newspaper is the shortest. Paper towel also shortest, maybe one month. But then for plastic, like for this plastic film container, it takes 20 to 30 years. Even our boot, the rubber boot shoe, it takes 80 years to decompose. So that's why just now I mentioned, if you send all these waste to landfill, it will take longer time to decompose, which is actually quite bad to the environment. That's why reuse, recycle is a way. Consideration should be given to recycling material and structure during the construction process. Okay, what are the benefits? Okay, what are the benefits of reuse and recycle? First one, minimize landfill. If today you practice recycle and reuse, you will stop sending your waste to landfill. Just now I already explained, landfill is not good. So if we can practice reuse some of the material, recycle some of the material, then we no need to send the waste to landfill, which actually is a good thing. Second benefit is reduce virgin material extraction. If we reuse, if we recycle, say for example, the paper lah, the box lah, the paper box you recycle, the paper, newspaper you recycle. So which means that we don't need to cut down more new tree. So in the sense that it reduces the virgin material, the forest, the tree extractions. And when we reuse, when we recycle, we can actually reduce the consumption. Okay, which in the sense that we protect the nature. Okay, so that are the benefit of recycle and reuse. And waste can be reduced also during the construction phase by optimizing offsite. This one means precast, prefabricated structure. Okay, so say for example, prefabricated steel section do not generate any waste at the site, because you know that if you use the conventional steel bar, definitely you cut, okay, you bend and you cut, you twist, it will produce a lot of waste. But then if we use all these prefabricated steel, they actually prefabricated at the factory, so they save time, better quality, and you just order, then they will deliver. You can quickly assemble on site, save time no? And better quality. And you don't need to cut, you don't need to bend, so generally less wastage. So that are the benefit of using prefabricated structure. And some of the example, prefabricated component like glass facade, parapet wall also are a good alternative to think about it, to install for a property. And we have also prefabricated staircases, also can. Even bathroom also can be prefabricated. Okay, so some of the news for you to think about it, to read. So world tallest prefab tower in Singapore are actually built in Malaysia. So this residential project in Singapore is the tallest prefabricated building in the world. And the Malaysia claim to fame will be their module are made in Johor, Senai. So which means that this building assembled in Singapore, but built at the factory in Johor. So the architect told that the building method is called prefabricated, pre-finished volumetric construction, PPVC. It is less labor intensive, which means that you don't need to hire so many labor, and can help to reduce waste and noise pollution. So that are the prefabricated benefit. Okay. Another example I want to show you is this hot cell. This method called volumetric construction is also one of the prefabricated method. So it's a modern method of construction that produce large room-size structure in factory condition, which are then transported to and assembled on site. This project is Holiday Inn Express in Manchester, was built saving 6 months. 6 months, they save time 6 months on the traditional construction approach. What is the consequences? This resulted in a 6-month saving in interest loan and generated income 6 months earlier. So this new again proved what I say just now. If you can complete the project faster, then it shortens the construction period. Then you no need to pay so much interest. Originally, if you use traditional method, you estimate the construction period is 24 months. But then if you use prefabricated structure, it shorten, let's say become only 18 months. Save 6 months. So which means that you no need to pay 6 months interest. That is the effect. 6 months saving on interest rate, and you can start to generate income 6 months earlier. So that is the benefit of using prefabricated structure. Okay. All right. I think, okay, break first before I continue. Okay. So remember to answer the quiz. All right. So now is 9:50. Okay. We come back at 10 o'clock. Break for 10 minutes first. See you all later. Okay, welcome back. All right, so the next thing I'm going to talk about in terms of material selections. So natural resources extractions due to the extraction of raw material for the construction's purpose. So say for example, when we need to build a house, the first thing we need to do is what? Cut out the tree. So first question need to think about it. Has responsible sourcing of material been undertaken? Say, for example, the sources of the timber should come from a sustainable reforestation supplier, which means that for this kind of supplier, they only cut down the tree when the tree are already matured. But there are some irresponsible supplier which they just cut down the tree, don't bother about how old is the tree. So that's why when we select a material, always think about the sources of the material whereby they practice the reforestation or not. And thus substitute the finite resources with material that can be reused and recycled, which will reduce the burdens of virgin resources sources, which means that, as I mentioned just now, if we can reduce the timber or recycle the timber, eventually it cut down the burden, it slow down the virgin resources extraction. That is one of the benefit of recycling and reuse. And in terms of the material selection, when we choose the material, the transportation of the material should be considered. Think about it. Import stone or marble or the material halfway around the planet. Is it a good option? Which means that you can purchase it locally. But some of the clients, they want the marble from Italy, the marble from China. Okay, but we all know that when we import all these material from all these very far away country, it actually add up the cost because the transportation cost is very expensive. And along the way from Europe to Malaysia, the transportation cost increase, but the carbon emission also increase also. So that is not a good thing, whereby local sourcing should be prioritized. So what are the benefits if we choose made in Malaysia product? Of course, first one is what? Cheaper, environmental friendly, because you can just order from KL, then they can deliver faster. They cut down the carbon emission as compared to you import from Europe. And the benefit also, you help and support the local trading, boost up the local trading. You support local made product. In that sense, you are actually helping the local employment. Okay, so that are the benefit of using locally made product. And when we select the material, just now I already mentioned that we have to consider the environmental impact of the material use. That is what we say embodied energy. Embodied energy is the energy released, is the energy consumed in a product or material production, as well as transportation to the site. So which means that it calculates the energy consumption from the day you mining, process, at the factory, or you manufacture them, and then you transport and deliver. So embodied energy is calculate the total energy released, the consumption from mining the material from the natural resources. You process or manufacture them at the factory to produce the material, then you transport and deliver to the site. That is what we say embodied energy. So based on the example just now, you can compare from Europe and from Malaysia, which one higher embodied energy? Of course, you want to choose the lowest one would be better because Lower embodied energy means lower energy consumption. So based on this chart, you can notice that steel, stainless steel, they actually have higher embodied energy, which means that the process we produce stainless steel, we produce the steel. Along the process, they release a lot of energy, which is not good. That's why we should reuse and recycle the steel and the stainless steel due to the high embodied energy. Okay? Something for you to think about it, to have a better understanding. Cradle to gate, cradle to cradle, cradle to grave, and last one is cradle to cradle. Cradle means baby. Cradle to gate is actually the theory of embodied energy. They actually calculate the energy release from mining, extract, manufacture, and deliver to the site, to the destination. So that is cradle to gate. Gate here means to the destination. So cradle to gate calculate the energy from the baby, the small, when you extract from the ground until deliver to the destination only. That is the cradle to gate. Whereby cradle to grave, similar from the mining, include mining, extraction, manufacture, and delivery, plus construction, assemble on site, maintenance, demolition, and disposal. So until the end of the material life, that is the cradle to grave, to calculate, to consider the energy release from cradle until the material cannot use anymore, dispose, and sent to landfill. Okay, of course, this one will be better than the old one. The old one only consider up to the delivery. But then just now, I already told you that for a building, the maintenance, the operation form larger costs as compared to the front end stage, because building lasts longer time. You just need 3 to 4 years to construct the building, but the building can last very long. That's why cradle to grave is always better than the cradle to gate. Okay, but recently they think that these two also not good. These two, the cradle to gate, cradle to grave, is what we call open loop concept. Open loop concept, which means that you can see here, after delivered to the site, none of my business already. After end of the life, they will send to landfill. So this is also not good, as I told you just now, landfill is not good. This is open loop concept. Open loop concept is not good because eventually it does not solve the problem. Eventually, it still went to the landfill. Landfill is also one of the problem. So that's why open loop eventually does not solve the ultimate problem. That's why we need a closed loop concept, which is called cradle to cradle. Cradle to cradle actually quite similar to cradle to grave, but cradle to cradle actually aim for no trash, no waste sent to landfill. If can, all the waste that we generated should be returned back to the cradle, should be returned back to our mother earth to produce a new things again. So that you can see here, material recovery. So in this newest concept, the closed loop concept, it actually require the material, the product to be designed. At the end of the end life, shouldn't go to the landfill. should go back to the mother nature with no harm. So that is the newest thinking. But then this one is actually quite difficult because it actually involve or require the person to think about how they design the material and also how to use the material in more efficiently. Okay, but just to let you know that closed loop is a better way because we don't want send the waste to the landfill. Okay. So as I mentioned just now, steel carry higher embodied energy. That's why if can, we have to reuse it. And we all know that steel is an excellent reusable material. Okay. And in a construction industry, they generate they generated a lot of waste, which we call C&D waste. Construction, demolition waste, like let's say you can see the concrete lah, broken tiles lah, brick lah, steel and timber. But all these things, the C&D waste can be recycled. So these are some of the potential usage of the recycled C&D waste can be reproduced to become precast concrete, can also become a concrete block again, or we can also use it as a paving, okay, with the paving the base course with the recycled concrete aggregate, or you can see these concrete paver are made from recycled material, or you can also use for daily covering for the landfill. So these are some of the potential way to reuse the C&D waste rather than send to landfill. Okay, and next one is water usage. So growing water usage will actually causing water shortage and pressure. In Malaysia, I don't think this is a problem. But very sadly to say that some of the country they don't even have the ability to access to clean water. That is a sad thing. Okay. So some of the thing for you to think about it. How long do you shower? You can think about it. How much can you save if you shorten your showering time, if you don't want to use the water so frequently? So that is a thing that you can actually do in by your own way. Okay. So for a property development, they can actually reuse the existing water, such as the grey water from wash basin or washing machine. Grey water is from basin. Black water is from toilet. So all these maybe can be reused. Okay. Or developer can influence the occupier and the user to reduce the water consumption. This can be done for residential building, for commercial building. They can install water efficient appliances, water metering to track the water usage, or leak detection system also can. So these are some of the things you can see quite commonly in a shopping mall, or in a new property also now they start to use this dual flush, okay, WC. So to control the different volume of the water. And this one, Urina flush valve, they also can control the amount of the water to flush. So to avoid people overuse the water. Okay. So this is some of the things you can actually detect at new shopping mall. They use all these called self-closing delay action tab. You don't need to open the tab. They actually detect your hand by using the sensor. Then they will start to flow the water every 2 to 3 seconds. Very fast one. Okay. So this is actually water efficient feature to control the flow time. Okay. And another one is the control the flow rate. Install constant flow regulator and adjust the flow rate to less than 6 liter per minute. So this one can be installed for residential building or even in the shopping mall, because in the shopping mall definitely the water usage is very, very high. But developer can make the difference. If they install all these water efficient fitting, it can help to save the water. It can encourage the people to use the water more efficiently. Okay. Of course, the best is no need to use water law, waterless urina. That could be done also. Okay. And very commonly, for a residential property, they can actually have this rainwater water tank so that they can reuse, commonly reuse for irrigation. Okay. And no more idea. Okay. Next one is talk about pollution and biodiversity. Pollution from constructions such as particle, noise, vibration, and vaporous discharge. So you can see from this news, the tuition center actually bombarded with construction debris, metal object, life at risk. So we all know that construction is a dangerous industry because of the heavy plant and machinery and also the material. So that's why these are the things that we have to consider also to avoid it actually hurts or injure the people, the surrounding people. So something for you to see. This news just recently happened. Three people actually killed because of the crane collapse at SUKE construction site. This site is like quite dangerous one. Very frequently they have the thing collapse or drop from the higher construction site. So that's why these are the things should be avoid, because if they didn't avoid it, it will actually injure the people, and you can see end up somebody die if they didn't prioritize the safety. Okay. So under this part, what are the things that the contractor, the developer can do is use less mechanical equipment, ensure machinery used on site operate within the acceptable noise level and do not emit or does not emit the particle or vaporous discharge. This one could be quite important if the construction site near to hospital, near to school, or near to major highway. The contractor, the developer can always select more quiet equipment. They can compare the noise level among the plants and machinery. Choose a method, especially the piling. We know that piling is very noisy. If the site near to hospital, near to school, and you start to do the piling, it will affect the operation of the hospital and also the kids, the student to study. So that's why try to use the less noisy process in terms of the piling selection and also in terms of the equipment selection. Okay. And to enhance the biodiversity, we can adopt more green space into the development, such as green wall. So this is the green wall. This is a green roof. So these are some of the things that the developer can put, because when you actually plant more plant, it actually improve the air quality. So the purpose is to reduce the urban pollution and also improve the air quality by fully utilize the wall and also the roof. Some of the things that the developer can do during the construction stage. And of course, when we say you want to have green roof and green plant, right? We need to have water efficient plant. Water efficient plant, which means that this plant require less water. You don't plant something like flower, they need watering few times per day. That one not efficient already. So that's why when we choose to provide plants, we need to choose those water efficient plant which require minimum water. No need to watering so frequent one. Okay. And regarding the health and well-being, as I mentioned just now, we all spend 90% of the time indoor. I think since MCO, most of the people, maybe 100%, that spend their time inside a building rather than going out, because you cannot go out because the cases are quite viral, isn't it? So sustainable building are promoted on the basis of their benefit to health and consideration is given to optimizing the health of the occupant. If the building is not healthy, we are not healthy. When we are not healthy, it will affect our quality of life and we will start to fall sick. We will start to not comfortable at all. That is an effect. That's why maintain a good comfort environment, indoor environment is very important. Why? Of course, okay, something for you to think about it. Why is it important to incorporate wellness inside our building? As I said just now, most of us spend indoor more. And indoor air pollution can be worse and more harmful than outdoor. You will be feeling unwell, sick, and in some cases, you can get cancer due to long-term imposed to indoor air pollutant. Some of the indoor air pollutant, you cannot smell it, you cannot see it, but they are there. And they are quite harmful as compared to the outdoor. As a result, proper design management is very important to maintain a healthy benefit for the building occupant. So, how we can improve the health and well-being in terms of thermal comfort, lighting, indoor air quality, ventilation, and the indoor pollutant. So, say for example, the first thing we can do is improve the privacy. Privacy, which means that provide adequate private space for the occupant. This one could be very important for office development. Or maybe residential also very important, but particularly office very important because if the office office space or arrangement is very small or very crowded, lack of space, then a worker you won't feel comfortable to work under such environment. And then if the office is open space, which means that you got a lot of colleagues beside you. They will start to talk. They will start to gossip among each other. Then that is actually one form of the disturbance. Or they will create noise pollution. So when you start to have this kind of noise pollution, disturbance, you won't focus. You cannot focus on your work. Subsequently, it affects the work productivity. That's why privacy is very important. I myself, I would prefer to have a dedicated room to work, or else I seriously cannot focus if somebody talk beside me lah, or somebody walk around in the common area. It's very distract. So it actually will reduce my work productivity. It depends on the people. Some people they can accept. Some people they are very happy. But generally, we should ensure the privacy. Personal control is ability to change the lighting, cooling, ventilation to suit individual comfort level. So for this one, centralized aircon is not so good because centralized aircon you cannot control the temperature, you cannot control the level of the coolness. Some people they might feel cold, some people they might feel hot. So if the temperature is too high, it may not suit to every people. That's why personal control let the person to have the ability to control their own temperature comfort. Okay, because my temperature comfort could be different from you. You need, let's say you on aircon, you need 16 degree. But for me, 26 should be sufficient for me. So you can see that is a difference. Okay. Interior planting, some plant absorb pollutant and improve air quality. So for residential building or for office building or even the commercial building, you can see that they will incorporate some of the interior plant because some of these plants, they are able to absorb the bad pollutant and improve the air quality. So this can be done also by the developer. Noise Install sound insulation to reduce the transmission of airbound and impact sound. Noise is very important for hotel property, office property also very important because, as I say just now, noise is a disturbance. So if the noise insulation is not good, when you are working, you can hear somebody talking beside on the another side of the wall. So that is not good already because when you have disturbance, you cannot focus, which will affect the your work productivity. Okay, this new actually talking about privacy in office, just a phone booth away. So you can see that they in this office they are this called tall and narrow phone booth are making their way into the office to insulate sound and provide a quiet space for the employee so that they can step away for a phone call or to focus on work. So you can see that people actually missing their privacy. They want privacy, but they just couldn't have it. So that's why privacy is very important to ensure health and well-being. Color could affect the occupant productivity and performance. So that's why you can see that you will feel the difference if the wall paint with white color, black color, and some red color, you can feel the difference. Some property you can see that most of the time they only paint with white color because there is a study. Anyone? Please off your mic. So there is a study shows that white color generally is quite comfort. So to maintain the building occupant productivity. Okay, colors can make the difference. Window, access to window. The problem of glare or heat gain can be reduced by roller blind and curtain. Window is very important. Since MCO, people start to realize that access to window is a very, very good thing because you cannot go out. Imagine you stay in a house with no window, with no balcony. I think sooner or later you will key cell, you will become mentality got problem. So sometime after a day work, like let's say you work assignment a lot, assignment FYP a lot then the midterm tests are very difficult you start to feel very stressed, isn't it? It's a normal. But when you open the window, you see the outside, the scenery, you will feel that there is a sense of the mental freedom. Okay, by looking at the greenery side, by looking at the people and also the building, you will feel something better. You will feel better. It actually reduce your stress, reduce your tired. You won't feel so tired. That's why access to window is very important. And as I showed you just before, now the new property design, they will make sure that the property layout got a few window and they can access to the window. Okay, lighting, maximize natural daylight. As I say just now, when we can maximize the natural daylight, you don't need to have artificial light. Natural daylight is always better than the artificial light. Okay, and avoid to use the substance or material that will emit toxics, such as volatile organic compound, VOC, that always come from paint. Okay, formaldehyde normally come from timber. So when the developer choose to use any material, they should choose the material free of VOC, free of formaldehyde. Okay, because these two things are actually quite bad for the human health. And reducing the amount of aircon and recycle air in building to reduce the likelihood of sick building syndrome. So if we can practice passive design to allow more natural air to improve the ventilation, we don't need to install so many aircon because the longer you stay, the longer or the frequent you use the aircon, it actually It's not good for your body. It will make your skin very dry. Okay, and it will cause you the skin dry, your eye also dry, and your throat also dry. So in the long term, when you use more aircon, it's actually not so good for a person. All right. So these are some of the material that the developer can choose. So can you see here? The paint is low odor, low VOC, green label. So which means that when you paint already, right, you won't smell a bad paint smell one. When you go inside a building, when you smell the very big paint, the smell very strong, right? Definitely the paint got some problem. So that's why this thing developer can make a choice what kind of material they want to use. So for a better health and well-being for a building occupant, they should always choose a better material and products. Okay. And you can see this new, the Home Depot cut down formaldehyde, pushes to go green. The Home Depot announced that no longer carry or restrict items containing formaldehyde or other toxic chemical. So as I say just now, formaldehyde largely will come from the timber. So the timber, when they produce, they will actually have released this kind of formaldehyde. So that's why one of the supplier, they already say that go green. They don't want to use the formaldehyde because they know that these chemicals are actually quite bad for the people. Okay. All right. For this part, I will leave it next week. Okay. A few announcements. Next week, we will have one. Remember, we will have one IAP talk. Okay. So the IAP talk will start at 9:30. I will conduct the class as usual at 8 o'clock. Then maybe I will end early. You have a short break. Then after that, you join this team. This team is different. You join this team to hear this talk. This is a very, very, very interesting talk, adapting to new law amidst industry disruption. I believe you will gain some new knowledge from this talk and from this very good speaker. So next week, the class still conduct as usual, and don't forget the IAP talk. Okay, don't because of the bar list generated already, you all want to skip the class. Please do not do that. Please always have a learning heart. You learn is not, I know you learn you want to pass the exam, but sometimes think about it. We learn because we really want to learn a new thing. We really want to gain some new knowledge. It's not just to passing the knowledge already, passing the exam only. Okay. And also, as I mentioned, right, week 14, Monday, no class because of the FYP1 presentation. So the last lecture class for this course is for on week 13, Saturday. So week 13, Saturday, 9 o'clock to 12 p.m., I will conduct a revision. I will release your coursework mark, and I will comment your midterm, and I will comment your assignment also. And at the same time, I will also conduct a FA briefing, some do and don'ts for your FA. So this one I schedule on Saturday morning. It's up to you. You want to come, you come. You don't want to come, up to you also. Okay. And bear in mind, tutorial class still ongoing until week 14. Okay. Tutorial class week 13 still the same. Week 14 still the same. Okay. So although Bali generated you want come, you want to come, you don't want to come, up to you. But bear in mind that if you fail this course, see me again next time lah. Okay. So any questions so far? Before I end the class, do you have any question to ask? You all still there? Okay. No